All right, guys. So as it is now Friday, if you watched the previous video, you will know where we are here. If you have not watched that yet, go back and watch that first. Um, so with where we are now, really on gold, you can see we got out of our long position early. We still got or not necessarily early, but with a much smaller profit than we could have had. Obviously, we were looking at this level to be broken, but looking back, it's always easy to see what you should have done when you're looking back in hindsight, right? Obviously, we had short opportunities up here. Looking back, that we could have, if we were not in this long position or if we exited completely up here where we exited partial, then, coming down, coming back up, we could have looked for some sort of short position. Looking back, it's always easier said than, done in real time. But I will just make a little zone here, right? This is what we could have been looking at previously. But that's all good, right? Now going forward, right, we are pushing down below this key level here, right? So what I'm going to be looking at going forward into the new week, right, is to see, I mean, it's only 9:30. We want to see how this weekly candle closes. If we close underneath here, then I think we will see this level retested down here. So okay, so if we close the week underneath here, I do think we will see this level around 2480, give or take, level met again. You can see right now we are showing some signs of respecting this support in the short term. So anyway, we just need to see what's going on now. But this is not really a place where I would want to be taking a position, just because with this price action here, it's not as bullish as we were coming down yesterday, testing the zone again. It looks like we were probably likely going to break through and then, you know, see the levels tested that way. So going forward, we just need to wait. There's no sense in getting into any position now. That would just be, getting upset that we missed out on opportunity in here. If we go down to 15-minute chart, again, we came up pretty much to this zone we were discussing, and that would have been a short opportunity, clearly, right? But of course, after just getting out of a long position and having that bias, it's not very smart. I do say that you have to be able to adapt and change, change when you're presented with new information. But, we just did not take advantage of this, right? And so, I'm not going to pretend that I did, right? But anyway, like I said, going forward, we just need to really look at the bigger picture of things here. 4 hour, we're just within a zone. If we break through here, I think maybe either end of today or the beginning of the week, we could see this level met down here, which would be revisiting an old level we've had marked here for some time. And then, over time, once we build up some more support and we're deeper below our high up here, I will be looking for more of a swing position, right, as opposed to a shorter term, more intraday position, right? Um, that's what I've been saying is that recently I've had a lot more success the higher time frame I go to, right? Um, I don't mean, looking at a specific time frame like the 4 hour, the daily chart, but I mean looking at trades from a much larger time frame or time span, right? So instead of looking for, day trades on a 3 minute chart that you're going to hold for, maybe less than an hour, 2 hours, something like that. I'm looking for positions that, I'd like to hold for a couple days or maybe longer than a week, right? Something where, you're looking for a much larger scale move to happen because, um, obviously people say that, when it comes to investing, oh, your time in the market is better than, timing the market, right? And so obviously you can't totally apply that to, for a trading perspective, but I do like to talk about that in the sense that, sometimes when you're looking at such a low time frame, you get caught in noise. Essentially, is what it is. It's so much noise that, there's needless volatility and things that can cause you to lose when you're not necessarily wrong about your direction. And so I like to kind of take that to its furthest extreme of, the more that you look at the bigger picture overall, like for instance, do we think that next year gold's price is going to be higher than it is now, right? And if the answer is yes, then that means that my bias is to look for high time frame 4 hour daily, weekly levels of massive, strong support, and then look for swing positions, right? And that's sort of how I'm looking at things going forward because, you know, you sort of reduce the amount of noise and essentially just volatility that can mess you up. And so that's kind of my focus going forward. I've slowly uh, transitioned into that a little bit. Um, I've been doing a decent amount of more shorter term things with US 30 this past year and especially the end of last year. Um, but I feel like a lot of that is only really beneficial and consistent depending on the state of the market. When you're looking at things on a higher time frame and really looking at the big picture, like I was just saying, um, it's a lot easier to remain consistent because if the market doesn't present you with something right, then you don't force it, you don't push it, you wait and you observe until the right opportunity comes your way because it's worth it when it does. And when, like I said, when you go to a much shorter term basis of, you know, like I said, looking at 3 minute charts, 2 minute charts, 5 minute charts, um, it may work for you. And if it works for you, then keep doing that. But the issue is that, um, you know, you're trying to build a trading plan based off of, you know, trading every single day. And just in my experience, trading every single day is how I lost the most money. And so it's really not about, trading 2 to 3 trades a day and, trying to get 75, 80% of them to be winners. It's really sitting back and waiting for the high probability positions, entries to present themselves to you, right? As opposed to trying to force it. So that's really how my philosophy has changed in, as of recently. I mean, I still do, uh, apply certain strategies, those shorter term strategies to US 30 and um, you know instruments like that. But um, like I said, my confidence is much better. My overall consistency and it's much better doing what I'm doing now. So anyway, like I said, going forward, let's look at the daily chart here. Um, yeah, really just noise right here. But it's looking like we will see at least this level remet. Um, so yeah, I mean, once we get down a little bit more, we can reanalyze this. But clearly, overall, we still have our bullish bias. But um, in order to get a nice position, we're going to want price to move down a little bit deeper into some larger support levels, something like this, right? This is what I'm really talking about is taking a much higher time frame approach of okay, on a daily chart we're at a major support level here, and like I said, it's always easy looking back, but just as an example, um, you know right, we've respected this level as support multiple times. So each time we come down, we're looking for a long position, right? Because we can get a much larger, higher time frame profit essentially, as opposed to trying to time all of these smaller moves, right, in between the overall move to the upside. That's essentially what I'm trying to say. So uh, anyway, going forward, we're just going to be, um, waiting the rest of the day. You can see right now we're trading above this zone, but I'm not too confident that we are going to respect this right now. So anyway, that's what we're looking at the moment. We have since come down um, to break below our key level here and are now pushing up to retest it. So this is just overall a low risk trade. Now it is 10:30 here on a Friday, so we may not reach this by the end of the day. This may lead into Sunday night or Monday morning, but again, overall fairly decent structure here. We broke below. I know typically what I would want to wait for is a much more defined um, move below and then a more legitimate retest. This is a retest, but what I'm trying to say is something more of along the lines of a handful of different candles coming up to retrace into the zone and retest it. But overall, a lot of times, like I say, we will have typically a decent end to the week, like a higher volume end to the week into the afternoon here. So that might be what we get here, or maybe we come down and get a larger retest, but overall, stops up here make a lot of sense, and then our target is just our next zone, which is a previous all-time high on gold. So, all right, guys, so as we push up here a second time, this is what I was saying before of more of like a real legitimate retest of this level. So this is a great place for a second entry. Stop still in the same place. Could be adjusted, but this is really what I was talking about with more of like a legitimate retest rather than the wick that we got in on. So anyway, a good place for a second entry here. All right, so a lot of time has gone by for our position here. So we came back up twice into this level and have since moved lower. Um, with where we are right now, um, I think we just want to be a little careful going into today because it is only Tuesday, but it is about 7 o'clock. The market's going to open here pretty soon. So my ideal likely scenario is I do think we need to tap into this zone, and I think we might do that at the market open or closely shortly after. And I think after this zone, it is likely that we will probably move away and respect this level as support. That doesn't mean I'm going to go long. That just means I want to be out of the position. And then we'll see if we can maybe get something like this, right? So, anyway, that's what I'm looking for. That's what my anticipation is because this is a clearly our key level here relative to everything. So, um, I think that if we start to break through to the downside underneath this level, I think it will probably be looking back a wick on a higher time frame. What I mean is it'll probably be short-lived, and so I, whether or not we continue down lower, I would want to just completely get out as we get into this zone. So, um, yeah. All right, guys. So we have the market has opened about 10 minutes ago. We have broken down and reached our target finally, right after some time here, after since Friday. And so at this point, um, just like I said, I am going to be completely out of this position. Now, a lot of times I will like to um, leave a little bit open with stops either slightly in profit or at break even, which would be like maybe just above here or even here. But with this being the case, like I said, we could maybe go down a little bit further, uh, but overall, our higher time frame bias, we are going to be looking for long positions. That's what our overall bias is for gold as a whole. And so if I miss out on a little bit of potential profit, if we come down a little bit further, I'm honestly okay with that. Just logically and technically speaking, it doesn't make a lot of sense for me to assume that this will continue lower because we are at a key level here, right? Now, two things we could look at. So we've already tested this level once. So a lot of people might think this is actually not very strong for a bullish case, right? Which I can understand that way of thinking. However, it is still a strong level. So what I would want to do here is, yes, I'm going to risk missing out on some potential profit. Um, Maybe in the next day or two, we move away from this level and show signs of respecting it as support again. And then at that point, we could maybe look for a long position, that sort of thing. Or if not, if we break through this level, then what are we looking for? This same level just turns into resistance. And then we will look for a move back up into this resistance and then to move lower, maybe down to this level or maybe a little bit lower. We'd have to, at that point, we will redo our analysis from top to bottom. So anyway, that's what I'm looking for. I can delete these lines here, but um, that's really what I'm looking for here. Like I said, I understand, a lot of people might look at this like, oh, well, we already reached this level, right? Tested as support, moved away, we failed to reach this high. Um, and then we had a lower resistance here that we respected and moved to the downside. So that is definitely a bearish case, right? My whole thing, like I said, is I was in my position. I'm happy with my profit. I'm completely out. If we continue to break below, then like I said, we will just look for something like this, right? That's as simple as it's gonna be for us, right? And if in the next 8 hours or so, we build some new structure and we have respected this as support, um, then we have a case for a long position again. So, but one thing that we do have to keep in mind, and I have to remind myself of this a lot, I am very biased when it comes to this. Um, when the overall trend on gold is bullish, which it is now, um, I always have a tendency to want to get out of short positions too early and then hold long positions a little bit too long. And that's not bad because that goes in line with our bias, but like maybe here, I'm thinking about it already. Maybe we will go down and move a little bit lower, but uh, you know, either way, the fact is still we had a nice sell position. We pulled back twice, and so that was a bit of a drawdown here on the second one actually. But overall, um, the reason why it wouldn't make sense to move stops to break even so early on this trade is because both of these retracements that came back are still within this overall zone. And so if we had maybe a better entry, like a higher entry, then it would make more sense. But the thing is, a move back to break even in this case would be just a retest of the zone we got in on. So it doesn't really make a lot of sense, because this retest didn't invalidate our trade, right? Because sure, it was higher than where we entered, but on a overall higher time frame picture, all we're doing is retesting the level that we initially got in on to begin with. So anyway, moving forward now. Um, like I said, that's really what we're looking for. Um, 4 hours, very clean, very clear, gives us a clear picture. So if we end up, everything now is relative to this zone, right? We'll just look 2480 zone, right? That's about the middle of the zone. So we're looking to see if this will be respected as support or if we break through and respect it as resistance. That's really the plan going forward now. So um, yeah, anyway, overall, really good trade though. Sometimes you just got to be pretty patient. And, like I said, this was a very strong resistance level. And so every time we would begin to work our way up, um, I was very confident, especially after this last move here last night. And so, no reason to worry about this. This is one of those things where if we would break up, then this level would just be respected as support. So anyway, all I'm really looking for is favorable price action in line with my bias. That's relative to these key levels here. So um, anyway, overall, a really good position. And hopefully we can get another decent trade before the week is over. It is only Tuesday, so we should be able to. But yeah, anyway,